Hello everyone, this is Theo. You're watching the first video in this new sketching series called Easy Ways to Fill a Sketchbook. As the name of the series suggests, we will be using letters from the alphabets to get ideas on what to draw. So at the end of the 26 days or 4 weeks later, we will have a sketchbook that's filled with sketches. So this is going to be a very fun project. I hope you'll follow along with me. So all you need is a sketchbook with at least 52 pages because we will need 26 double pages or 26 spreads and your pen, pencil, and watercolor. This is the sketchbook that I'm using. This is made by Koval. It's a hardcover sketchbook with 56 pages of 100% cotton watercolor paper. If you have a sketchbook that's partially filled, do count the number of pages because you don't want to run out of pages towards the end. I think it would be good to have a sketchbook just dedicated for this project. So let me do some research on things to draw. In this first video, we are going to start with the letter A. There are so many things you can draw, like animals, food, objects, places, plants, or even peoples whose names start with A, like actors or singers. You can do your research using Google. So this is a website that I found that has a list of items, of things that start with the letter A. These are some ideas I have compiled. So I'm going to select some of them and draw them as a collage. I'm going to start by drawing angelfish, and I'm going to draw a lot of them. I like drawing fishes because they can be very colorful, so I want to draw a few of them and color them with different color. So angelfish, they are very flat fish that have this triangular body. Now, if you cannot draw accurately, it doesn't really matter because the aim of this project is really to have fun. So just try your best and have fun. Because at the end of this project, if you think you cannot draw, I'm pretty sure at the end of the project you will think differently about yourself. So I'm going to draw some big fish and some smaller ones. And I'm going to have some of the fish overlap some of the other fish. Next, I'm going to draw an armadillo. Oh, by the way, I forgot to tell you, if you're going to use watercolor, then you should use a pen with waterproof ink. So I have this idea of painting the armadillo with brown paint and then adding the dots with white gouache. Try to vary things up a bit, like changing the size of the things that you draw. Some things you can draw bigger, some you can draw smaller. So here I'm going to draw this alarm clock really big. Notice how I cropped off the alarm clock. So you don't have to draw the whole thing, you can crop things off. Let's have some apples here. And again, I'm going to crop off some of the apples. You can find a lot of reference photos online from Google. If you come across something that you think is too challenging for you to draw, I would suggest go draw it, because this is a sketchbook. This is not like some professional painting that you're going to sell. This is a sketchbook, so just draw and have fun and learn something along the way. You don't have to be too stressed out about anything, because it's just a sketchbook for, it's just a sketchbook for sketches. So this is an ambulance. This is what I have so far. I have hidden the letter A behind the fish, and I have also written today's date. So let's color this. Let's start by painting the fish first with clean water because I want to use some wet on wet. So many of these angel fish, they have vertical stripes that run across their body, and some of them they have no stripes. So let's dab some paint here at the top, and here maybe a little bit of red. Oops, it doesn't really matter if you paint out of the lines, because we have the line art as the subject, so it's okay for the paint to go out of the line. And of course for the red we can use it to paint the apple, but I want to paint some green first and then paint the red. So for some of these apples they have a bit more yellow, so let's have some yellow. And we have the red. For the shadows I will be mixing yellow, red and blue. For the blue I'll be using ultramarine. So we have the shadows here. We can use the red to paint the ambulance as well. This again is Pyro Red or Pyro Scarlet, I'm not too sure. For the armadillo, let's try and paint it with a dark brown. This is Burnt Sienna. I think it works really nicely, so I don't actually have to mix this. I'm just painting this straight from the pen. And this is a beautiful color that is so appropriate for this animal. For the alarm clock, I'll be using French ultramarine and burnt sienna. I'm going to leave some highlights for the reflections. Meanwhile, let's continue to paint the fish. So for this fish, it will be burnt sienna and ultramarine. I'm trying to paint the stripes that go down. Let's see how this will look with phthalo blue for the letter. Let's have some blue stripes here and see what happens. So it doesn't look too bad. Shadows for the ambulance. So this is just ultramarine on the side, on this side of the ambulance. For the alarm clock, I'm going to make this very dark at some areas, so I'll be using phthalo blue and a warm red to get that intensity. And I'm going to create a cast shadow here. If you have cadmium red, now would be a good time to use it. Let's see what happens when I paint over the numbers. Perhaps I should have painted the red first and glaze over with the paint. And now let's add some dots to the armadillo. So this is what I have. The fish, well, it's a bit messy here. I like the clock, the armadillo, the ambulance, the apples, alright, but the fish definitely very messy there. So it's not easy to identify the fish now because the shapes, they are not that obvious. This one is pretty easy to identify, this one also. So the contrast between the big and small elements, that definitely works. So I'm going to continue to use that technique tomorrow. Some areas where I can improve would be to make the shapes much clearer. So you see the apples here, they are all just grouped together, and this shape, it's not that obvious. I mean, if you look close at the sketch, you can see the individual apples, but if you take a look at this shape, this overall shape, it doesn't read that well, and the same applies to the fish. But if you take a look at this alarm clock, you see this silhouette for the alarm clock or the silhouette for the armadillo. Those shapes are very clear, and when you look at the shape straight away you can tell what sort of subject that is. But for all the shapes here, the lines, they don't work that well with the watercolor because the watercolor is creating shapes that are not easy to read. You don't have to be too precious about your sketchbook. The purpose of having a sketchbook is to test out ideas, to see what works and what doesn't. You can learn from your mistakes, try new things each time, try new things with every new page. The more you draw, the better you will get. So thanks for watching. See you guys in the next video tomorrow. Remember, a sketchbook that's filled up is always better than a sketchbook that's empty and sitting on your shelf.